Warner Bros. Discovery has been on just an absolutely wild ride since that massive merger. But after years of debt, drama, and some serious soul-searching, are they finally staging a comeback? Today, we're diving straight into their latest financial results to see if this Hollywood giant has truly turned a corner. And that right there, that's the bold claim from CEO David Zaslav on their recent earnings call. After years of really tough headlines, a ton of cost-cutting, and strategy shifts, the leadership team is basically declaring victory. It's a powerful statement for sure, and it sets the stage for a pretty big question. Is this a genuine turnaround, or is it just, a single good quarter? To figure that out, we're going to ignore the hype and do what we always do: follow the money. We're digging directly into their financial reports to see what the numbers actually say. So, according to Zaslav, the company's entire transformation has been guided by three core principles, and we're going to break down each one to see exactly how their strategy is playing out. First up, the magic of the movies. Yeah, after a period where, let's be honest, their film slate was kinda struggling, the first pillar of their plan was to reinvest and reclaim their title as a top-tier motion picture studio. And in the third quarter, wow, they really delivered with a powerful slate. They kicked off a whole new era for DC with a much-anticipated Superman. They scored big in horror with Weapons and the latest Conjuring movie. And they proved original stories can still be a huge hit with one battle after another. This mix of big franchises and fresh ideas clearly worked at the box office. And the results? They really do speak for themselves. In 2025, they became the only studio to cross the $4 billion mark in global box office revenue. I mean, that is a massive achievement that puts them squarely back in the lead. And that success at the movies, it translates directly to the bottom line. This little snippet from their financial report shows it all so clearly. The studio segment saw revenues jump 23%, and that was fueled by a massive 74% increase in theatrical revenue year over year. The movies are making serious money again. All right, now for their second principle, turning their streaming service, HBO Max, into a profitable global powerhouse. For years, streaming was just a money pit for pretty much every media company, but Warner Bros. Discovery was determined to flip that script. And just look at this turnaround. It's kinda nuts. 3 years ago, their direct-to-consumer business was losing $2.5 billion. Now, for 2025, they're projecting it will bring in more than $1.3 billion in profit. That's a nearly $4 billion swing from deep in the red to solidly in the black. So how'd they pull that off? Well, a big part of it is just sheer scale. They now have over 128 million global streaming subscribers, and they've added over 30 million of those in just 3 years. Their next target? 150 million by the end of 2026. But it's not just about getting bigger. It's about being better. They're focused on how good, not just how many. You've got these buzzworthy hits like The Pit and The Last of Us that keep subscribers hooked, while brand new shows like It, Welcome to Derry became the third most watched premiere in HBO history. That proves they can still launch massive new franchises out of nowhere. Okay, on to the third and honestly the most challenging principle, dealing with the decline of their traditional cable networks, like TNT, CNN, and Discovery. This is the anchor of the old media business, and it is facing some serious headwinds. And their own report tells the story pretty bluntly. The global linear network segment is bleeding, revenue is down, and maybe more importantly, profit, what they call adjusted EBITDA, which is basically a measure of operating profit, is also down significantly right across the board. But despite those declining numbers, the company's official line is to frame these networks in a positive light. On the earnings call, they were described as resilient and a powerful cash flow contributor, really emphasizing the money they still generate even as the business itself shrinks. But let's break down what those headwinds actually mean in real numbers. Distribution revenue, the money from cable fees, is down 8% as more people cut the cord. Even worse, advertising revenue has plummeted 21%. Because marketers are following audiences over to streaming. All told, revenues for this entire part of the business are down 23%. That's the core challenge they have to manage. So, with two parts of the business growing and one declining, what does the big picture look like? Well, this brings us to the company's overall financial health, and frankly, a massive plot twist in their comeback story. One of the absolute biggest priorities for management has been paying down that mountain of debt they took on from the merger. And you have to give them credit, they are making real progress. In this last quarter alone, they paid down another $1.2 billion of debt. That's a clear financial positive. But here it is, the billion-dollar twist. Right as the management team is declaring a comeback, the board of directors announced they are evaluating strategic alternatives. Now, that is corporate code for one thing. The company is officially in play.
So what does that jargon actually mean? Well, it means everything is on the table. They could stick with their original plan and split into two separate companies. They could sell all of Warner Bros. Discovery to a single buyer, or they could break the company up and sell off the pieces in separate deals. The stakes really couldn't be any higher.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question. After all this hard work, fixing the studios, making streaming profitable, managing the decline of cable, is this comeback all about building a stronger, independent company for the future? Or is this whole transformation really just an effort to make the company look as attractive as possible for one final, massive sale? That is the billion-dollar question hanging over all of Hollywood.